Hello movie fans, it is Steve from Funhouse Film Reviews here to talk about The Prestige. I have spent a lot of time with this wonderful film, and I assure you by the end of this film essay, I will unlock the secret that the Nolan brothers hid in their movie. So stay tuned. Also, there will be many spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched The Prestige yet, click on the card above to rent the film, watch it, and then come right back here to discover what is really going on.
Are you watching closely?
Yes, are you watching closely? Because you have to with this film. The events unfold at lightning speed, we travel back and forth in time, we listen to multiple narrators, and the very nature of the film is smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand, misdirection, as if it was made to be its own magic trick. In fact, that is what Cutter lays out for us in the opening narration.
Every magic trick consists of 3 parts, or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you to inspect it, to see that it is indeed real, unaltered, normal. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. But you wouldn't clap yet, because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. That's why every magic trick has a third act, the hardest part, the part we call the prestige.
His description of the structure of a magic trick mirrors the structure of a film. It is meta filmmaking, which Nolan loves to employ in all of his films. With The Prestige, he sets our expectations for the movie to magically trick us in some way, and by the end of the film, Cutter says exactly that.
Now you're looking for the secret. But you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled.
So, what exactly is the trick? This film was made to be rewatchable due to its extreme complexity, and each time a person watches this film, they go through 3 stages of understanding. The first time you watch the film without any knowledge of the outcome. The second time, knowing the outcome, how that knowledge changes your understanding of the story. And the third stage is trying to understand the real secrets Nolan says are hidden in the film. So let's examine the generally accepted storyline after we know the outcome upon first viewing. John Cutter, an ingenieur who designs magic tricks, mentors 2 young magicians, Angiers, an upper-class magic enthusiast, and Borden, a working-class shill. In one of their performances, Borden ties a knot that is too difficult for Angiers' wife to escape from, killing her in the process. This enrages Angiers, and their rivalry begins. After launching separate careers, Angiers sees Borden perform the greatest magic trick he has ever seen, and becomes obsessed with learning the secret. When Angiers is unable to figure it out, he hires a double to perform his own version, which is more successful but unsatisfying for Angiers, as he ends up under the stage while Root receives all the applause. Angiers assigns his assistant and love interest to spy on Borden to find out his secret. This plan backfires as she helps Borden sabotage Angiers' act, and she falls in love with Borden in the process. Before saying goodbye to Angiers, she does one last thing for him by giving him Borden's encoded diary. Angiers can't read the diary without the keyword, so he plots to kidnap Fallon. He holds Fallon at ransom for the keyword, which Borden reluctantly gives. When Angiers discovers the word is Tesla, he knows he has to go to America to see him. He believes that Borden had a machine built by Tesla, and he wants one built for himself. Tesla reluctantly agrees to build such a machine, but it proves more difficult than he thought. As Angiers decodes Borden's diary, he discovers that it was a red herring to get him out of London. He realizes that Tesla had never made a machine for Borden. Nevertheless, when he confronts Tesla about this, Tesla agrees to the claim, but shows him the results of what he's been working on. The machine does not transport, but duplicates its subject. Tesla is driven away from Colorado by his rival Edison, but not before Tesla leaves the machine for Angiers with a warning to not use it. Meanwhile, back in London, Borden's wife Sarah is driven mad by Borden's seemingly duplicitous personality. Sarah commits suicide as a result. Angiers returns to London and recruits Cutter to set up a new show called The New Transported Man. The nature of the trick being that Angier would clone himself. One clone would end up in the water tank below the stage, and one would end up in the balcony as the prestige. During a performance, Borden number 2 sneaks backstage and down into the pit where he witnesses Angiers fall into a water tank and drowns. Cutter discovers Borden standing there and turns him over to the police, where he is eventually found guilty of Angiers' murder and sentenced to be hanged. While serving time in prison, Borden number 2 is visited by a Lord Codlow's lawyer, who offers to care for Borden's daughter in exchange for Borden's tricks. When Cutter realizes that Angiers is still alive and living as Codlow, he agrees to help Angiers dispose of the machine for the purpose of getting his revenge. While Borden number 2 is being hanged, Cutter teams with Borden number 1 to kill Angiers. When Angiers sees Borden, he is shocked to learn the real secret that Borden had a twin. After Angiers dies, Cutter and Borden bring Jess home, and everything is as it should be in the end. A few questions became apparent after watching this film the first, second, and subsequent times. Questions like: the answer to this question is, in a word, yes. Cutter's opening and ending narrations suggest that there is. Nolan tends to write stories that have hidden meanings that are left unanswered. The very nature of having two diaries and Cutter's narration lends to the theory of an unreliable narrator. We cannot trust a character's telling of the tale because they have motivations that will hide and deflect the real truth. The most influential example of this storytelling technique comes from Rashomon, Akira Kurosawa's masterpiece about four witnesses to a brutal rape and murder in the forest who tell the same story in four different ways. While these questions are interesting, if we really want to get to the meat and potatoes of what is really going on in the story, we need to ask the most important questions. Angiers' magic enthusiast naivete changes quickly to revenge with the death of his wife at the hands of Borden, who tied an impossible knot. When his chance at revenge fails, his anger turns to obsession after seeing the greatest trick he has ever seen. His jealousy also intensifies when he follows Borden only to see how happy Borden is with his new family. His obsession and jealousy drives him to obtain Borden's diary, kidnap Fallon to get the cipher, and travel to Colorado to meet with Tesla. Tesla leaves his machine for Angiers, and Angiers returns to London. He asks Cutter to manage his show, but
I don't want you backstage. I need you front of house managing.
while Borden is serving time for the crime, he moves quickly to try and adopt Borden's daughter and have the family life he was so jealous of Borden for having. The Bordens are working-class shills hired by Cutter.
Find out how Virgil does the orange trick.
Borden number 2 ties the impossible knot.
I mean, if that knot slips and Julia's on the hoist, she'll break the leg.
It's the wrong knot. Like I said, the Langford double will hold tighter.
Borden number 2 is Fallon when Angiers is mistakenly chosen as a volunteer for the bullet catch. Borden number 2 falls in love with Olivia, jeopardizing Borden number 1's relationship with Sarah. Borden number 2 is insecure in his relationship with Olivia and tests her with Borden's diary.
I think she's telling the truth. I think we cannot trust her. But how to be sure? She must help me rid ourselves of Angiers. Yes, Angiers. She gave you this notebook at my request.
Borden number 1 is getting increasingly frustrated with Borden number 2 and plots to teach him a lesson. When Borden number 2 makes life more difficult with Sarah, who eventually kills herself, Borden number 1 plans to get his revenge by helping Cutter to frame his twin in Angiers' murder.
Borden must have placed it under the trapdoor after the interval.
When Angiers moves to adopt Borden's daughter, Borden works with Cutter to plot Angiers' murder and to get Jess back. What is Cutter's agenda, and whose side is he on, really? This film is loaded with relationships and images of duality. The only person who does not have a dualistic relationship is Cutter. In fact, everyone seems to revolve around him. When you boil it down, Cutter is the only one who seems to have a real plan and everyone else is just following along. So what is his endgame? Lord Caldlow's fortune. All of it.
Price is not an object.
How does he accomplish this goal? Much like in Inception, where a team is assembled to enter a man's dreams to change his ideologies, Cutter assembles a team to con Caldlow out of his entire fortune. On that team are Tesla, Olivia, the Borden twins, and Root. Let's examine each team member's role and how they achieved Cutter's plan. Cutter was a master manipulator and deceiver. He was a puppet master, moving chess pieces around the board to get everybody where they needed to be.
I suppose you have such a trick, Mr. Borden. The Langford double isn't a wet knot. It's too dangerous.
You said it was like going home. Well, we should see about an assistant.
I've made some arrangements. Oh, and if you need some inspiration, there's a technical exposition at the Albert Hall this week. Engineers, scientists, you know? That sort of thing captures the public's imagination.
Cutter's hoping that you'll let things lie. He says that if Borden thinks things are even between you two...
Even? My wife for a couple of his fingers?
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good double.
Maybe we could switch before the trick. That way I can be the prestige and Root ends up below stage.
No, the anticipation of the trick is everything. We need your showmanship to build up the suspense.
Two scenes jump out that reveal his scheming motives.
Best part is...
I thought you said I had to get my hands dirty.
Well, someday perhaps you will. I just had to know that you can.
Cutter is already planning ahead.
I'm walking tonight. Let him come. I don't care.
Let's look at the kidnapping scene. Are you watching closely?
I'm alive. Saves me cutting you an air hole.
Now let's back it up and study each person's role in the scene and how Cutter's plan is put into effect.
I'm walking tonight. Let him come. I don't care.
Like the bird that dies at the end of the trick, Borden number 2 is being sacrificed and punished for the mistakes he has made, all part of Cutter's plan to lead Angiers to Colorado and liquidate him of his money.
I'm alive. Saves me cutting you an air hole.
Root's role was simple. Root needed to help Borden sabotage Angiers' show, heightening Borden's status over Angiers. Once Angiers hit rock bottom, the idea of going to Colorado to get Tesla to make Angiers a better machine would become irresistible. Olivia's role was to play off Angiers' jealousy towards Borden by switching sides, and, as a final gesture, she delivers Borden's notebook to Angiers, planting the seed of going to Colorado to meet with Tesla. Tesla's machine was already built before Tesla even met Cutter. Cutter hired Tesla because he knew that Angiers would spend a fortune on this machine.
Oh no, sir, this wasn't built by a magician. This was built by a wizard, a man who can actually do what magicians pretend to do.
Tesla's role was to delay the delivery of the machine as long as possible and to squeeze as much money out of Angiers as he could.
You stole my money because your funding had been cut off. You've been shooting sparks in my top hat, laughing at me all along while using my money to stave off ruin.
The Borden twins were to play the rival to Angiers, feeding his obsession. Cutter hired them because he knew they had something special. The ability to be in two places at once and therefore perform a trick that would seem impossible from Angiers' point of view.
Okay, sugar.
However, once they got Angiers to Colorado, their role changed. You see, Tesla was not able to achieve his goal of getting all of Angiers' money before Edison drove Tesla out of Colorado. They needed to come up with Plan B, Angiers' death and inheritance. Angier had no one to give his money to, so the plan was to sacrifice Borden number 2 by framing him, knowing that Angiers was jealous of Borden's family life, a jealousy that they implanted in him. Angiers would adopt Borden's little girl once Borden number 2 was in prison. Upon Angiers' murder, Jess would inherit the rest of Angiers' fortune and come home to her father, and everything would be as it should be in the end. But wait, perhaps there was something else special about the Bordens.
You watching closely?
Or at least for Borden number 1. He was a poor working class shill willing to do anything to get ahead in life. Is it possible that before he met Cutter, he didn't even have a twin at all? If Cutter knew about Tesla's machine before he met Borden, isn't it possible that he convinced Borden to use the machine to make something special?
This was built by a wizard, a man who can actually do what magicians pretend to do.
How did we learn that Borden had a twin?
A twin?
And how did we learn that Tesla never made a machine for Borden?
Today, my mistress proves her truthfulness. Not to me, you understand. I've been convinced that she led me to root. Today, Olivia proves her love for me. To you, Angier. Yes, Angier. She gave you this notebook at my request. And yes, Tesla is merely the key to my diary, not to my trick. Did you really think I'd part with my secret so easily after so much? Goodbye, Angier. May you find solace for your thwarted ambition back in your American home.
These are unreliable narrators. Is it possible that Borden number 2 came out of the machine believing he was a twin instead of a clone, while Borden number 1 knew the secret all along?
The trick is where we would swap.
Let's examine how the machine works. Instead of transporting a subject from one place to the next, it duplicates its subject and places it in a different location. It is not known if this new location can be tuned by the person operating the machine, but the location does appear to be consistent.
Man's reach exceeds his imagination.
How much of the subject is duplicated? It appears that the demeanor of this duplicated subject changes as if there is a change to their consciousness, or their consciousness is born in a childlike state that takes time to grow.
It took courage to climb into that machine every night, not knowing if I'd be the man in the box or in the prestige.
This may be the reason why Borden number 2 seems to be more agitated than Borden number 1, who always appears calm. And it is perhaps why Borden number 2 makes mistake after mistake, creating the need to sacrifice him. And how quickly do Borden number 1 and Cutter move to get rid of Borden number 2? One of the movie's main themes is dedication to craft and sacrifice, but you have to admit that their methods are cruel if Borden number 2 was really a twin. it would be much easier to sacrifice a clone. If you like this video, show me by hitting the like button. Funhouse Film Reviews is a film review and analysis channel, so you can find other videos like this and future content by hitting the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.